Time for another out-of-this-world story from rSpace. My wife manipulated me to open our marriage and sleep with her coworker. She did, and kept taking it too far, so I ended things. To give everyone a quick background, I found my wife sexting a coworker. She ended up telling me that she wanted to meet with him privately for you-know-what. I agreed, and even tried to accept it. They met up a few weekends ago, and then met up again this last weekend. I tried to like it. I tried to be happy for her. And I tried to make her happy. She just kept showing that she really didn't care for me. First of all, she would not let me set boundaries for them. I told them that I wasn't comfortable with things and that they needed to stop or at least put a few boundaries in. She refused, saying that it wasn't for me to say what they can or can't do. This past weekend is what really did it in for me. She left Saturday morning without showing a care for me in the world. She made me take pictures of her to send to the guy before she left. She left without even giving me a kiss. First, she explained that she would be back that night. Nighttime came, and she was nowhere to be seen. The next morning, she tells me that she decided to stay the night with him, without even asking or telling me first. That's not even the worst part. That night, she over one of his friends, and she messed around with both of them. She didn't even care to ask me about that first. When she arrived back at the house, she told me all of this stuff. I started to get visibly upset. She laughed and said get over it and that it's not manly. I couldn't put up with it anymore. She obviously no longer cared for me. A spouse would say anything like this to their partner if they actually cared for them. I was just shocked. At no point in our marriage until the other week did I notice any signs that she would be this way. She had always been the most loving, caring girl that I had ever met. It's like a flip switched when she met that guy and she changed into a different person. I didn't know one person could change someone that much and that quickly. I'm 99% sure that she is going to end up dating this guy. She has spent the past few weekends together with him and even talks about him around me. The other night, I told her that if she doesn't at least put in boundaries, that I will leave. She said, okay, and laughed a lot. Without saying another word, I packed up some bags and booked a room at the nearest hotel. I've told my brother about the situation and he has offered for me to come stay with him for a little while. I ended up going to his place for the night. She sent me some texts that night and the next day. She was acting upset and confused as to why I left, and she was saying that she missed me. This situation has destroyed me. I tried to let her do this to make her happy. I didn't want it in the first place, but I tried to make myself like it to please her. I never saw any signs or anything that she would be this manipulative and this bad of a person before we got married. I don't know where any of this came from. She was the most amazing, thoughtful person ever. Now that this has happened, my whole outlook on life and relationships is different. So what advice would you guys give me? Whether it's next steps in dealing with my current wife or in the future when I'm back in the dating game. How do I tell our families and friends? How do I speak to my wife about it? I'm having a really tough time handling all of this. But wait, there's an update. I had left her last week and went to stay with my brother. After talking to him and reading several comments, I figured that it would be a good idea to try to go back to stay at my house, to try to make sure that I wouldn't lose it when we got divorced. The next day, I decided to go back there. My brother was going with me too. When we got there, my wife was trying to talk to me and grab me. I ignored her the whole time and pretty much acted like she didn't exist. She got pretty rough and was beating on my chest. I finally pushed away. My brother told me that if she doesn't leave me alone, that he would call the cops. She finally left after that. I didn't hear from her the rest of that night. The next day, I did receive a picture of her and the coworker. It was a normal selfie of them together. There was no text with it. I showed it to my brother, and he said that she must be sick in the head to do that. I finally met up with the divorce attorney for an initial meeting and consultation. It went well, and he told me things that I needed to know in preparation for the divorce. He said that the pictures and videos I have of them will be helpful evidence. The only problem with the situation is that she maybe can prove that I agreed to everything, even though there was manipulation involved. My brother and I went over to my parents to sit down and talk with them about what was going on. They were shocked to hear this about her and almost didn't believe it at first. My brother had my back and confirmed with them that everything I said was true. They wanted to talk to her, but I told them not to. The next step was telling her parents. I debated about this for a while, as I did not know if it was my place to do so. After a while, I finally decided that it would be best to. I know that if I didn't tell them first, she would probably tell them awful lies about me. I set up a time to meet them at their place. I went over alone. After a while of just sitting there and having small talk, I finally built up the courage to tell them what was going on. The looks on their faces were unbelievable. They looked disgusted. I had never seen this side of their daughter. I was surprised that they didn't put any of the blame on me. They understood that I loved her and wanted to do whatever I could to make her happy. They even hugged me before I left. We were all in tears. They knew divorcing her was the last thing I wanted to do, but understood that I had to at this point. This weekend, I spent most of my time talking to my attorney and chilling with my brother at the house. Saturday night came, and I received a text from my wife stating that she was coming over. I texted her back and told her that she wasn't welcome here right now. She didn't listen, and about 20 minutes later, she showed up. I felt like I didn't really have a choice at this point, but to talk to her. She started off by saying that she had been talking to her parents, and they were very angry with her, and that they mentioned us getting a divorce. I was hoping that they wouldn't tell her that, as I had not even broke the news of that to her yet. I wasn't even planning on telling her in person. I had planned for it all to be through a lawyer. She told me that what I did was childish and that I must not be a real man because I talked to her parents before her. I told her that I didn't feel comfortable talking to her anymore as she had manipulated me so much already, and that I talked to her parents first because I knew if I didn't, she would lie to them and accuse everything on me. She then kept asking me if it was true that I was really filing for divorce. I confirmed that I was. She started sobbing uncontrollably and didn't really say anything for a good 15 minutes. She finally stopped and was asking me why I was doing this and why I didn't give her a heads up. I explained that throughout all of this, she has been super manipulative and has treated me like I don't exist. I have been so humiliated by her and the coworker. She promised that she would stop if I took her back. I told her that I couldn't. She finally left after that. The next morning, I wake up to a lot of texts and missed calls from her. They are mostly long messages and voicemails of her apologizing and explaining how much she loves me. It really hurt to listen to them because I was reminded of our past and how much I loved her. I was crying like crazy at this point, and it took everything in me not to respond back to her. I just kept reminding myself what she has done to me in the last few weeks. Since she left that night, I've gotten many texts from her friends telling me that I need to take her back. They were cussing me out and telling me how wrong it was of me to go to her parents. They said that now they are the only people she has. This has all been so crazy. I can't believe how emotional the past few days have been. I can't believe that even her parents are on my side. I do feel bad for telling them first and making them turn on her, but I'm glad they are on my side. Her friends continue to attack me and send threats. I have not heard from my wife ever since she sent the long texts and messages. I'm guessing that she is either staying with the coworker or her friends, as her parents are against her at the moment. I'm surprised I was able to stand up this strongly against her. I hope to continue to be able to do so. I think that this weekend was big for me. It showed me that I do have the strength to stand up to her and leave her.